Can you tell us about your run-in with a famous person?
Yes, my instance of running into a famous person was literally almost running into him. The fact of the matter was we were on a Jersey Turnpike and a green Cadillac was in front of me, and he kind of changed lanes kind of fast, almost cut me off. I don't think he saw me and realized I was there. He was trying to go over to the cars only lane. With this, he left the truck lane, almost ran me off the center of the road. By the time he had cut me off, I pulled up next to him to glare over at him in the car as if to say, you know where you're going, buddy? Or you know how to drive that car or what? And I looked over at him with a bit of a glare after what had occurred, and I realized when I looked behind the wheel, the guy driving looked over at me, and the guy I was going to give a little bit of jazz to happened to be Muhammad Ali. He was driving the car. I looked and did a double take and looked again to see if it really was who I thought it was, and it was. And he looked over and he gave me one of these and winked and, kind of like, how you doing over there? And with this, I realized he had a CB antenna on the car, so I began to speak to him, began to talk to him. I just picked up the CB, and I went, is that you, champ? He picked up the CB in his car. He says, yeah, you got the champ here. With this, he started a conversation, talked with me. We spoke about sports and fighting and everything else from about Newark Airport all the way down to about Linden, Carteret area. With this, he says to me, where do you live? I said, I live down in Edison. He says, you got any kids down here? I said, yeah, I got a 13-year-old boy at home that would love to meet you, champ. I said, you got time to stop and have a couple of pops before you head on to the airport with your buddies? And he says, let me see if we got the time. He checked with them, and he didn't. He said, gee, I'm sorry, I can't. He says, but he says, maybe I'll catch you next time. I says, all right, I'll catch you another time. With this, meantime, as I'm talking to him on the CB, I'm hearing truckers come over Channel 19 saying, some jerk thinks he's talking to the champ. And another trucker saying, you mean Muhammad? He said, yeah, some jerk thinks he's talking to him. And I'm hearing another trucker say, if it isn't him, the guy sure does a great impersonation of the champ. With this, we drive a little bit further, and all of a sudden on my CB, back comes the champ, and he says, hey, where's my buddy from Edison? I said, right here, champ, what's up? He says, hey, I see a sign, service area. He says, pull in there. He says, I got something for your boy. With this, we pull in the service area. He pulls up the gas pump, invites me over to his car, sits me down in the front seat. One of his buddies gets out, goes in the trunk, and he pulls out a nice big 8x10 with glossy picture of himself and autographs and puts on it to my son, to Bobby Kelly from the champ, signs it. In my book, I know they call him the greatest. He says he was the greatest. In my book, in my estimation, he is the greatest.